Every legal vote will count.
Tonight, the presidency hinges on very tight races in battleground states, including here in Georgia. A last-minute surge of absentee ballots delayed some results, with votes still trickling in, and a promise from the Secretary of State that we will have the results by the end of the day.
So here is where Georgia stands right now, and you can take a look at our ticker of the results to give you an overview of what has transpired so far. Certainly there is more numbers to be added to these totals that we have witnessed. We're going to have a county-by-county breakdown of where these votes are coming from across the state of Georgia. That's coming up in just a moment or two.
Let's start with Rebecca Lindstrom in DeKalb County with more on where the presidential race stands here in Georgia. Rebecca, we have seen the gap tightening, specifically as more ballots are counted there in DeKalb.
President Trump does still have a slight lead right now. There are only about 76,000 votes between them. The question now, how many more absentee or provisional ballots are left to be counted? Here in DeKalb this morning, they reported about 48,000 ballots that still needed to be processed. I'm told right now that number stands at only about 10,000. Election day votes, those favored the president, but Joe Biden has so far been winning the absentee ballots almost 2-1. This morning, Georgia, it was predicted to be one of the last states to turn in its election results, but now the Secretary of State seems pretty interested in getting out of the spotlight. And the question is just how did Georgia get to be so close in this race? I've spent the day talking with two Emory political scientist professors, and they say first, of course, is the changing demographic. Since President Bill Clinton won this state in 1992, Georgia's population has changed by about 4 million people, and half of those people are black, a quarter of them Hispanic. And of course, disapproval over how the president handled COVID has certainly played a role.
The shutdowns that we've seen have been destructive to the economy, but at the same time, we're seeing a resurgence in cases, which indicates that we're not out of the woods yet. And I think for many voters, especially many college-educated voters, that dynamic, again, the economy and the COVID-19 pandemic are really key and have really shaped their vote choice.
And while minorities certainly played a role in increasing that Democrat support here, new white voters actually showed up more significantly at the polls. We're going to talk about those numbers and the impact that they've had on this race tonight at 5. Back to you.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much. So interesting to see those breakdowns.
So the race for Georgia still is too early to call, as several counties in the metro continue to count absentee and provisional ballots. Brendan Keefe joins us now to give us a breakdown, an overview of what county-by-county results are telling us so far. We got a long way to go on this still.
Yeah, it still feels like last night never ended, Jeff, but this is how the process works. It's about counting votes. These aren't about missing votes. They're about ballots that were cast that have yet to be counted, and that's what's going on right now. Let's first look at where the race stands right now. 50-40 now, Trump and Biden. That's a little deceiving only because this is a slight round up for Biden and a slight round down to 50 and up to 49. So let's look at just how many votes separate the two candidates. As of right now, we've got 76,000 votes separating the two candidates. That's a lot of votes, right? But that's much farther down from where it was. So Joe Biden will have to make up that amount in order to, get anywhere near where Trump is right now. So how many votes are left yet to count? By our count, based on what the Secretary of State said this morning, we're looking at about 150,000 votes still outstanding in Georgia. So are there 76,000 votes in there for Joe Biden? And remember, even if they break in a heavily Democratic county, that still means some of those votes go to Trump, and even if a majority go to Biden, it increases both of their numbers. It's about what percentage they increase those numbers by. So let's see where those are right now, and what we have to do is zoom into the metro to see what we're talking about. So let's actually draw on the map here and take a look exactly where those numbers stand. In Fulton County, we're looking at about 67,000 votes that are outstanding right now. Then in DeKalb, about 20,000, maybe 24. A batch just came in, and it's a really good indicator because about 600 votes came in, 100 added to Trump's total, about 500 added to the total for Biden. And then in, in Cobb, we've got about 15,000 votes, and in Gwinnett, you've got about 5,000 votes that are still to come in. So this is the whole race right here. And of course, this is the bluest of blue part of the state at this point, and that's where the votes are yet to be counted. And can Donald Trump hold on to that lead? That's the question. We're going to stay on it. The numbers are changing by the minute, Jeff.
Famous country song from Porter Wagoner in 1964 called Sorrow on the Rocks. He says in the song, "My eyes look like a road map of Georgia." And quite frankly, after spending the last 20 hours looking at this map, I think we can all relate to that old song this evening. All right, thanks, Brendan. We're going to keep you updated on results in every race as the final votes are counted in Georgia. To get them sent right to your phone, you can text the word RESULT to the number on your screen. That's 404-885-7600.
You said that song just because you saw I had to put my glasses on, right?
No, it had nothing
That's
to do with
exactly what's happening with my eyes as we speak. Oh my goodness. As of this afternoon, the Secretary of State said there were about 200,000 ballots that still needed to be counted. Andy Parati has been following the process and the numbers for us, well, since early yesterday. He's at the Fulton County Election Warehouse right now. Andy, things just keep moving and keep changing. What's the latest you're hearing there from the ground?
Hey, Cheryl. Well, the headline where we are today is that party leaders from both sides, from the Republican and the Democrats, they're looking at two different numbers right now that will require some time to go over them. One are flagged ballots, and this happens when the ballots are scanned, something happens, something that the computer sees went wrong, and so they're put aside to be reviewed later. But that process takes time, and what you're experiencing, if you can see just behind us, is some folks are waiting for another batch of ballots to come in, and what they have to do is look at each individual one, and then a leader from the a representative from the Republican Party, a representative from the Democratic Party, they review it and they decide exactly what was the voters' intent at that time when they were going through the process. If they can't agree, then a county election official will basically break the tie. That has to happen for every single flag ballot, and we're told it could be as many as 12,000 ballots, but I want to put an asterisk next to that number because I've heard some other numbers, and we have yet to hear exactly from county officials those numbers coming from the Republican Party and Democratic Party. Another number that's going to be looked at and scrutinized are the provisional ballots. Earlier today, the election chief for Fulton County told county commissioners that there are 1,200 to 3,000 provisional ballots. Again, something happened when an individual went to vote and either they didn't have their ID or something went wrong. And so those votes also have to be counted. And so there are a lot of other ballots that need to be counted in addition to the ones that have already been scanned and that are ready and that are in the process of getting scanned. And those, again, are happening at the State Farm Arena. So a lot of eyeballs looking at some ballots that will take some time to count. Cheryl?
Andy, a couple of things stand out to me as you're reporting. One, a record-breaking number of people cast their ballot, 4.7 million ballots. And the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, kept reiterating that nothing that we're seeing play out here is out of the ordinary. This was all expected. This was all anticipated. Even the timing, he said he felt very good about.
Yeah, everyone's anxious to get the results, right? But we've been telling our viewers that this was likely going to happen for weeks because of the unprecedented number of people mailing in their ballots. Thank goodness, though, a few months ago, the state's election board passed a rule that allowed the state to start processing those early mail-in ballots 15 days ahead of time. Some other states like Pennsylvania and some other northern states, they didn't have that opportunity. They didn't have an opportunity to start the process of counting them until yesterday. So Georgia's actually in pretty good shape to find out much earlier than some of the outstanding states that we're still waiting on.
Yes.
Cheryl?
Some of that work ahead and getting the ballots ready to be processed that maybe other states didn't do. Andy, thanks a lot. I know we'll be checking in with you throughout the evening.
I want to mention very quickly, David Schaefer is the Republican chairman, of course, in the state of Georgia, and I am Facebook friends with him, and he had put on Facebook overnight that Fulton County was saying that they were not going to count any more of the ballots, yet he says when the representative for the GOP left, they then continued to count. So we'll have to see if we can get some more information on that. We'll ask that of Andy the next time that we see him. Perhaps he can give us an update to that and can respond to the comment from Chairman Schaefer's post on Facebook. As of the Secretary of State's latest update this afternoon, up to 67,000 ballots still need to be counted in Fulton County. Doug Richards is at State Farm Arena where they are working to get through absentee ballots. Doug?
Yes, we are on the suite level of the State Farm Arena in a corner room where there are more than 30 people. It's a very lively room, but they're all engaged in a very painstaking process. 3 dozen or so workers actually are going through the envelopes here, but they are not counting the votes. They are merely opening envelopes. They are opening the envelopes that are within the envelopes. They're checking for signatures, and then they are bundling them to take them to the election center a few miles away on English Avenue, where Andy Parati was, where they will get scanned and counted. So this has gone on all day because there are 67,000 or so absentee ballots that were dropped into boxes on Election Day. And these are those ballots being counted today. We are told to expect this all to come to an end, and there being some results, including numbers, sometime tonight. Not hearing a lot of promises as to actually what time that may be. By the way, the water burst that everybody has been talking about did not take place in this room. It took place in a room above this room, causing water to drip through the ceiling into this room, causing the issue yesterday that shut down the ballot counting. Everything seems dry now, though. Back to you.
Doug, I think there's a certain irony as high-tech as we have become with our cell phones and our tablets and all of this information age in which we live. We are back to the days when Nixon was running against Kennedy, and that is we are sitting at tables counting slowly, laboriously, patiently, counting.
Yeah, and hopefully not being hacked by the Russians, and also hopefully not having ballot boxes stuffed like they used to do in the 20th century.
All right, Doug Richards reporting from downtown. Thank you. A lot of attention today on the process of counting Georgia's ballots. Caitlin Ross digging deeper into that, and she has this for us.
They're working as fast as they can, but counting these mail-in ballots is a process. They each have to be opened, scanned into a machine, and checked for legal requirements before they're counted. It's not like when you vote in person and your machine just scans the vote. If there are any red flags at all, that ballot has to be reviewed again. All of that takes extra time. And the sheer number of absentee ballots they're counting is unprecedented. But political experts say local election offices and the whole country should have predicted this huge absentee vote because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They had several months to prepare for these potential slowdowns.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people are left to blame about this. I know in Georgia we had some brand new machines, a brand new system, and the in-person voting seemed to work relatively well. But what no one seemed to plan appropriately and adequately for was the avalanche of mail-in ballots and the fact that those are going to take longer to process. Again, I think that should have been done well in advance of Election Day.
So what comes next? Analyst Paige Pate predicts that these absentee ballots will be the subject of legal challenges. How that could all go down, coming up at 5.
Caitlin, thank you for the very latest updates on the election. Easy for you to see what's going on in its ever-evolving, ever-changing, seemingly half-hour by half-hour. Head to 11alive.com. We have the latest on ballot counts and on results. You can also download the 11 Alive app for all the alerts you need, and you do need them.
A shift in Cobb and Gwinnett counties after Republican incumbents lost their races. How the political landscape there is shifting blue. Next. A few votes are still being processed in Cobb County, where Joe Henke is right now. Joe, the county is still going, but some big races have been decided.
Well, that's right, Cheryl. Cobb County Elections Office is behind me, and a county spokesman tells me today election workers have been processing and counting about 15 to 16,000 final absentee ballots. They hope to have that work completed at some point this evening and could have those results sent to the Secretary of State's office between 6 and 8 p.m. But as you mentioned, even as votes are still being counted, key races here in Cobb County have already been decided. Several of those races, including incumbent Republicans, being ousted now by black Democrats. It's a historic change here in Cobb County, a county traditionally led in key positions by white conservatives in many roles across the county. Sheriff Neil Warren had been with the sheriff's office since 1977. He was longtime sheriff in the office there. He was defeated last night by Democrat and Army veteran Craig Owens. Owens received endorsements from both Democrats and Republicans. He will be Cobb's first black sheriff. Cobb County's next DA will be Democrat and former Assistant Solicitor General Flynn Brody, who defeated Joyette Holmes. Holmes was appointed last year by Governor Brian Kemp to replace Vic Reynolds, who is now the GBI director. Holmes was leading the prosecution in the Ahmaud Arbery murder case out of Glynn County. The new DA will take on that case. And the top seat in the county was won by Democrat Lisa Cupid. She ousted incumbent Republican Mike Boyce, making her the first African-American woman elected county commission chair. Cupid talked with us earlier today about her victory.
Hoping that other people will be inspired. If it's history making, it's just history making for anyone that believes that they can get through a challenge and overcome and get to something better.
And last night brought similar changes over in Gwinnett County. District Attorney since 1992, Republican Danny Porter was defeated by Patsy Austin Gadsden, a black Democrat. Porter earlier this year told us he had considered running as a Democrat as the political landscape in Gwinnett County continues to trend towards blue. And in Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, Republican Butch Conway previously announced his retirement earlier this year after 20-plus years as sheriff. Stepping in as the next Gwinnett sheriff will be former Gwinnett police officer Kibo Taylor, who won against a Republican challenger. Taylor will be Gwinnett County's first black sheriff. And one other key change in Gwinnett County, Charlotte Nash, since 2011, had been with the Board of Commissioners there. She had been chairwoman for the county. Earlier this year, she announced she would not be seeking re-election. A Democrat is taking over that seat now. Charlotte Nash was representing the county as a Republican. We'll send it back to you in studio.
Yeah, Joe, leading up to this election, there had been a lot of talk among political pundits about the potential continued changing demographics in the suburbs, and the races you speak to certainly show that to be the case, at least there in Cobb and Gwinnett.
Definitely does.
All right. Joe Henke, thanks a lot.
A software glitch appears to be impacting the absentee ballot count in Gwinnett County, and that is where we found Palo Soro right now. And what exactly is the problem there, and how are you getting all of these ballots counted? What are they telling you right now?
Yeah, well, right now officials are not sure how many absentee mail-in ballots were affected by a software glitch, but they say a big part of the reason why there is an issue figuring out just how many were affected is because of the way these ballots are scanned. Some are in batches of 25, others are batches of 50. Really depends on whether the voter filled out one side of the ballot or both. Now, today's focus here behind me is actually a different process. It's a different focus here today. They're working on provisional ballots, but tomorrow the focus is expected to be on the adjudication process for the absentee mail-in ballots affected by a software glitch. We know the software used is new. Now, usually if there's an issue with how the ballot was filled out, if a bubble wasn't fully filled, for example, the software selects that ballot to be adjudicated. Now, the adjudication process involves a 3-person committee. It includes a representative from each party and an election official. If the system flags a batch, they will need to be looked at by this 3-person committee. Although a spokesperson tells us they're not sure the exact number of ballots impacted, we know going into election night, the county had 118,000 absentee mail-in ballots. Now, the first half of those scanned with no issue. When the second group, which could contain about 60,000 ballots, was scanned, is when the glitch happened. But the county does not expect to have to review all 60,000. Now, the adjudication process does begin tomorrow, so Thursday at 9 a.m. But in addition to dealing with this software glitch, they did receive 4,400 other absentee ballots that they still have to process. We'll send it back to you guys.
Paola, thank you. In Gwinnett County, a few Senate races remain uncalled, including a big one here in Georgia. Up next, a look at the current balance of power and how it could shift.
And as we go to break, a look at the second constitutional amendment that has passed in Georgia. It says citizens will now be able to sue the state without government permission, something that was previously blocked by a Supreme Court ruling.
Georgia was in a unique position this election with both U.S. Senate seats on the ballot. One will go to a runoff. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first, let's take a look at the very latest in the Perdue-Ossoff race. Senator David Perdue looking for a second term against the Democrat Jon Ossoff, with results between the two nearly mirroring the presidential race. But Senator Perdue has a bigger lead in this race. He needs 50% plus one to try to avoid this continuing. Following a contentious jungle primary, we are closer to figuring out who will finish former Senator Isaacson's term. A field of 20 candidates had been whittled down to Republican incumbent Senator Kelly Loeffler, the Democratic challenger, and the Reverend Raphael Warnock, the Democrat, who will face off in a runoff. This will be the first week of January, January 5th. Senator Loeffler was appointed to the seat following Senator Isaacson's announcement that he would retire. The senator then faced in-party competition from fellow Republican Congressman Doug Collins, who conceded early last night. The 2 months leading up to the January runoff will give her more time to focus on her message and her Democratic opponent.
Look, I'm a strong conservative champion for Georgia. That's what's made Georgia the #1 state in the country to do business, is our strong conservative leadership. And I'm going to continue to uphold those values for the state to make sure that we have the economic opportunity that lifts everyone up, regardless of their political party.
Reverend Raphael Warnock of Ebenezer Baptist has been the leading Democrat in the race. He has the most votes overall in the general election. We spoke with Reverend Warnock on Morning Rush, hours after he learned that he was moving forward.
We've been getting our message out, focused on making sure that every Georgian has access to affordable health care. That's critical, and that essential workers get paid an essential wage, and that all families have a chance. We're concerned about working families, especially in a time like this, and I think Georgians heard our message and they responded, and I'm deeply grateful.
Both of Georgia's Senate races are being closely watched by the country as Republicans fight to keep control of the Senate, and right now they have a 1 senator lead at this point. We want to bring in Brendan Keefe from the newsroom for a look at the balance of power as it stands right now, and this country is in an amazing place right now.
It's fascinating. In fact, Jeff, we just got some new numbers in from Fulton County. We're going to show you those in a minute because they have tightened the race between Trump and Biden. In terms of the balance of power, it really looks like the Republicans are going to keep control of the Senate. It really comes down to Susan Collins in Maine now being declared the winner. That was almost critical to the Democrats taking over control. But of course, we're all going to be watching those races here in Georgia, right? I mean, because those are going to affect things, and we may be looking at 2 runoffs. Why? And this is kind of critical if you think about it. Let me bring in the writing here because I want to show you. This says 50%, right? But it's actually 50.18, right? No, 48, okay? So all you have to do is drop that down to 50, not +1, and you have a runoff in this race, which is going to be fascinating. So let's get to the new numbers right now. We just got the latest numbers in. The lead now for Donald Trump is 66,000 votes, okay, over Joe Biden. That has shrunk now by 10 just since we came on the air here at 4:30. So that's fascinating. When you zoom in now to the rest of the metro here, here's where those numbers came from. They came from Fulton County, where we just got 15,000 votes. So 15,000 more votes just came in from Fulton County, and here's how they broke. They broke 12,000 for Biden, and they broke 3,000 for Trump. And so now the difference is that 66,000 we mentioned before. Right now, we still have, another 51,800 votes or some odd remaining in Fulton County. So this race actually is far from over in Georgia, and it's tightening every minute. And we're going to keep an eye on it as these numbers come in.
Thank you, Mr. Keefe. We appreciate it, as always, for the update, for the information. Keep us informed, if you would, and we will keep you updated on results in every race as the final votes are counted in Georgia. Remember that we can send that to your phone. All you have to do is text the word RESULT to the number on your screen, and that number is 404-885-7600.
Still ahead, a key state going into Joe Biden's column as the AP calls Wisconsin. Georgia still in the national spotlight as we have been talking, with this race too close to call, and as Brendan was just reporting, getting closer. Where we stand in the ballot counting process here, coming up next.
Live from Atlanta, 11 Alive at 5 starts now.
My team has sent reminders to counties to get all, let me repeat, all of our results counted today. Every legal vote will count.
Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger saying that we should know Georgia's final counts by tonight. And tonight, the presidency hinges on tight races in battleground states, including here in Georgia. We just got another big surge of votes tallied in Fulton County, 20,000 new votes now in the column here, and a promise from the Secretary of State, again, that we will have it all wrapped up here sooner than later. But he says nothing that has happened right now, Jeff, is anything different than what they anticipated.
So here is where Georgia stands. Very quickly, a look at what we call our ticker. You see on the bottom, you see on the top, you see the numbers, you see the statistical breakdown as well, along with the title, the pictures, and the information that we know to be true, at least at this hour. We are going to have a county-by-county breakdown of where these votes are coming from across the state of Georgia. We will do that in just a moment or so.
All right, Donald Trump leading Joe Biden by 66,000 votes now in the state of Georgia. Let's start with Rebecca Lindstrom in DeKalb County with more on where the presidential race stands here in Georgia. Rebecca, we just got a lot of new numbers from Fulton County. Also, a lot of counting still happening there in the room where you are.
Yeah, and I will point out that 66,000 vote difference that you were just noting between President Trump and Joe Biden, that has changed in the past half hour. In the past 30 minutes since we last talked, Joe Biden has picked up 10,000 votes. So it is proof that every vote is being counted and that those votes are still in the process of being counted. What it's really going to come down to are those absentee and provisional ballots. And here in DeKalb, they say they've got about 10,000 more to go. Who is leading the battle for Georgia's votes all depends on who you ask.
We want to know, when are we going to get your votes?
On the Today Show, Georgia's Secretary of State seemed to predict President Trump would win the state. With the president holding a slight lead, Brad Raffensperger said,
and you can see where we are right now with the results that have been reported. I don't think it'll change any of the outcomes.
It's been a long night.
But just moments earlier, this Emory political science professor said absentee ballots would change the race.
Biden will be the president-elect.
The polarizing predictions, evidence of an incredibly close race in Georgia.
It's the strongest showing by a Democratic presidential candidate in Georgia since Bill Clinton in 1992.
So I sat down to talk with two Emory political science professors to help us understand why. The changing face of Georgia's population is key.
The Georgia of 10 years ago is not really the Georgia that we have today in terms of the demographic composition of the electorate.
Since 1992, the state has grown by nearly 4 million people, and according to the U.S. Census, of those, 24% are Hispanic, 45% Black, both groups that tend to vote Democrat. And this election motivated many new voters to head to the polls. According to Bernard Fraga, 40,000 Latino voters, 260,000 Black voters, and 430,000 white voters that skipped the last presidential election went to the polls this time. And white doesn't mean Republican.
What Biden has done in Georgia that has put it in play is he's won close to 30% of the white vote in Georgia. So that's up from 21% for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
COVID is a big reason why.
The shutdowns that we've seen have been destructive to the economy, but at the same time, we're seeing a resurgence in cases, which indicates that we're not out of the woods yet. And I think for many voters, especially many college-educated voters, that dynamic, again, the economy and the COVID-19 pandemic, are really key and have really shaped their vote choice.
And those job losses and deaths associated with COVID are expected to impact our voting decisions for years to come. Back to you.
Rebecca, I'm just curious, you know, I'll check back in with her. I'll have to text her. I'm so curious about the group that's standing there outside. As the count continues across the nation, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is taking the stage after, was going to take the stage just after 4 o'clock this afternoon, and he indeed did. He says the record voter turnout this year is proof that democracy is alive in America.
Here, the people rule. Power can't be taken or asserted. It flows from the people, and it's their will that determines who will be the President of the United States, and there. And now, after a long night of counting, it's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report that when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
President Trump has not addressed the nation yet this afternoon, with states still counting ballots. He did falsely claim victory overnight, but again, the ballots are still being counted with no declared winner.
So the race for Georgia is still too early to call, as several counties in the metro area continue to count absentee and provisional ballots. We have received new numbers from Fulton County, and Brendan Keefe is here once again with the very latest breakdown by the county.
Yeah, Jeff, these numbers just keep changing by the minute. We have new Fulton County numbers, and now we have new numbers from downstate we'll show you in a minute. And we're talking about thousands of votes we weren't even sure were still outstanding in terms of being counted. At this point, right now, Donald Trump has a 66,000 vote lead over Joe Biden. We are estimating at least 150,000 ballots are still to be counted. Most of these are absentee ballots, and most of them are in the Atlanta metro. And we just got new numbers in from Fulton County, and the new numbers, out of 15,000 votes, 12,116 went to Joe Biden, 3,249 went to Donald Trump. So we're seeing some big differences in the numbers there. We still have votes outstanding here in the counties around here. And remember, look at some of these percentages that we've seen in DeKalb, Gwinnett, Cobb, and also in Fulton County. We've seen a big difference in the numbers. We have a lot outstanding. Actually, before I even show you what's still outstanding, I want you to see the new numbers we just got in from downstate. We've been keeping an eye on Dougherty County. That is Albany down in southwest Georgia on the Flint River, an area very hard hit by COVID. It is traditionally Democratic. We just got a total of, let's see, we got almost 4,000 votes in. And right here, you have, for Joe Biden, we have a 3,000 votes. And this is just in. They haven't even hit the board yet. Another 3,000 votes, 759 for Trump. So those votes that are coming in are breaking more to Biden, and we still have many more outstanding here in the metro that we still have to look at. We're looking at about, let's see, 51,000 votes still outstanding here in Fulton County, and then you've got thousands in the surrounding counties. But this is where most of the vote is still outstanding, and every time it comes in, that lead shrinks for Donald Trump. And are there enough votes out there to make up the difference? This is a minute-by-minute thing. In fact, it feels more like election night tonight than it did last night.
We will keep you updated on results in every race as the final votes are counted in Georgia. To get them sent to your phone, again, text the word RESULT to the number on your screen. That's 404-885-7600.
Tonight, the Fulton County Republican Party is voicing concerns unsupervised counting happened at State Farm Arena last night. Andy Parati has more on this from Fulton. What are you hearing about this, Andy?
Hi, Cheryl. So about 30 minutes ago, I got off the phone at Zoom call, actually, with Trey Kelly. He's the Fulton County GOP chair, and he tells me that his party is very concerned with these claims, and here they are. Apparently last night around 10:30 in the State Farm Arena area where they process mail-in absentee ballots, that for about 2 hours no one was there with the exception of election workers, and they were concerned that they were unsupervised, that they didn't invite any of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party to join them watching these absentee ballots getting processed, and that includes scanning, eventually putting them on memory cards and bringing them here to be counted. Here's what he told me a short time ago, expressing his concerns.
Last night, I think it was around 11 to 1, I was told. They were told that everybody, a number of people went home, and as did our folks. And then, they kept counting for another 2 hours or so, and unsupervised. And obviously, that's a huge problem.
Got to stay above 50+1.
Now, the county chair tells me that he did reach out to the county expressing their concerns. They have not received a response yet. I reached out to the Fulton County election chief asking for his response by text a short time ago, but have not heard back from them. Here's what's happening right now. Right behind me, some individuals are waiting for more batches of votes to come in. They are what they will be doing is going through flagged ballots that when they were scanned, something happened. And so what will happen is they're going to go through an adjudication process where members from both parties will look at the ballot. They'll both decide either to agree or not to agree on the intent of what that voter was planning to do when they cast their ballot. That's what's happening here from now. Cheryl, back to you.
All right, Andy, thanks a lot.
There are still tens of thousands of absentee ballots that need to be counted in Fulton County. Doug Richards at State Farm Arena, where they are working to get through the absentee ballots. And Doug, this is a very slow process of sitting at a table and essentially assembling the bingo card, so to speak.
Each individual ballot gets special attention from each one of these workers, so much attention that they actually called a dinner break a minute ago, inviting the workers to eat and consume caffeinated beverages, indicating that this could go into the evening. There are about 36 or so workers here processing absentee ballots. They are not actually counting the votes here, though, as Andy Parati pointed out. These folks are merely opening envelopes, then opening the envelopes within the envelopes, and then bundling them to take them to the election once they check out, once they make sure that they have been properly filled out, signatures, that sort of thing. And that's where, in English Street, that's where they will get scanned and counted. And this has gone on all day. There were 67,000 or so absentee ballots dropped into boxes on Election Day, we are told, and that's the ballots that are being counted today. And they have not made any predictions about how long this will take, except that it'll be done sometime today, before midnight, hopefully sooner is what they're telling me. Back to you.
Doug, I'm thinking about 1960 here, a little history. You and I both follow political races. In 1960, Nixon was going to challenge many of these kinds of votes that were coming in very slowly. In fact, President Eisenhower didn't meet with JFK because he didn't trust the fact that the count of these kinds of ballots were going very slow and wasn't sure what to make. And certainly there are those Republicans who have that same sort of view some 50 years later. So it is certainly a part of history that has repeated itself, at least politically, in the United States, in many states today. We'll see how it plays out from here. For the very latest updates on the election, you can head to 11alive.com. We have the latest on ballot counts and results. You can also download the 11 Alive app for alerts.
A shift in Cobb and Gwinnett counties after Republican incumbents did not win the election. How the political landscape there continues to shift. Next. There are votes being processed in Cobb County, where Joe Hankey is right now. Joe, the county is still going strong with counting, but we have seen big races that have been decided there. So any indication just how much work is left to do in the count?
Well, Cheryl, not as much work as maybe what we're hearing out of Fulton or Gwinnett, but still a sizable amount of absentee ballots being processed here in Cobb County. Today, the Cobb County Election Board is behind me. A county spokesman says some 15,000 ballots is what they are working through today. They hope to have the processing and counting of those ballots completed this evening and could be sending off results for those ballots as early as 6 to 8 p.m. to the Secretary of State's office, and then we would see what those totals are. As you mentioned, several key races in Cobb County, though, the election results show those races have already been decided. Those results showing a historic shift here in Cobb County, traditionally led in key positions by white conservatives, and now we have several black Democrats stepping into those positions. One of them, the sheriff's office. Neil Warren has been with the sheriff's office in Cobb County since 1977. For a long time, he's been the sheriff. He was defeated by a Democrat, an Army veteran, Craig Owens. Owens received endorsements from both Democrats and Republicans, and now he will be Cobb's first ever black sheriff. Cobb County's next DA will also be a Democrat, former Assistant Solicitor General Flynn Brody, who defeated Joyette Holmes. Holmes was appointed last year by Governor Brian Kemp to replace Vic Reynolds when he left Cobb County to be the director of the GBI. Holmes was leading the prosecution of the Ahmaud Arbery murder case out of Glynn County. The new DA in Cobb County will now take on prosecuting that case. And the top seat in the county was won by Democrat Lisa Cupid. She had previously held office here in the county, but she will now be the county commission chair. Cupid talked to us about her victory earlier today. She'll be the first African-American woman in that position.
Hoping that other people will be inspired. If it's history making, it's just history making for anyone that believes that they can get through a challenge and overcome and get to something better.
And last night, similar changes over in Gwinnett County as things trended from Republican to a little bit more Democrat. District Attorney Danny Porter had been the DA as a Republican since 1992. He was defeated by Patsy Austin Gatson, a black Democrat. Porter earlier this year actually talked with us about considering running as a Democrat in this election as the politics in Gwinnett County continue to change. And the Gwinnett County Sheriff, Republican Butch Conway, previously announced this year he was retiring. He had been sheriff there for 20 years. He stepped down. Now a black Democrat, former Gwinnett police officer Kibo Taylor is taking over. He will be the first black sheriff in Gwinnett County's history. And also with the county commission in Gwinnett County, Charlotte Nash had been the chairwoman of the county commission there. She had been on the commission since 2011. She announced she was stepping down. A Democrat also taking over that position. So Gwinnett and Cobb, two metro counties, seeing things trending in this election from Republican to Democrat in some key positions. We'll send it back to you.
Wow, hard to imagine Gwinnett County without Danny Porter. End of an era, that's for sure. Joe Hankey, thank you. The process for counting ballots varies from state to state. Caitlin Ross offering us some perspective tonight.
We have a team of journalists working to get updates from every county where there are still outstanding ballots. And there are a lot of them. That's because in Georgia, the ballots can be sorted when they're received, but they can't be counted until Election Day. A new rule passed by the state election board allowed the ballots to be sorted and scanned 15 days out, which is helping to speed the process up some. But because voters had until yesterday to get their ballots to the election office, our waiting game continues. There are some states where the ballots can be counted as soon as they're received, but in many of the places where we're still waiting for results, election officials have to wait until Election Day. That's the case in Michigan, where President Trump's campaign has filed a lawsuit to gain access to observe the process. Our legal analyst Paige Pate says he absolutely expected that stipulation would be the subject of several lawsuits across the United States.
And you can't simply go to the Supreme Court. What has to happen is a valid, legitimate legal challenge has to be made to a district court, a lower court, and it can work its way up to the Supreme Court. But that's not going to happen anytime soon, and it can only happen if there's a legitimate legal challenge to counting those ballots.
Pate says he thinks we're in this for the long haul and not to expect final results in the presidential election tonight. That's because several swing states are getting ballots in. Here in Georgia, another potential issue we're watching, problems with the U.S. Postal Service not getting those ballots delivered in time.
All right, a few Senate races remain uncalled, including a big one here in Georgia. Coming up next, a look at the current balance of power. Georgia was in a unique position this election with both U.S. Senate seats on the ballot. One will go to a runoff, and we'll have more on that one in a moment. But first, we want to take a look at the very latest on the Perdue-Ossoff race. Senator David Perdue is looking for a second term against the Democrat Jon Ossoff, with results between the two nearly mirroring the presidential race. But Senator Perdue has a bigger lead in his race. Senator Perdue needs to stay above that 50% plus one vote threshold to avoid a runoff. Following a contentious jungle primary, as we call it, we are closer to figuring out who will finish former Senator Isaacson's term. A field of 20 candidates has been whittled down to Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler, the Democratic challenger, the Reverend Raphael Warnock from Ebenezer, who will face off in a runoff the first week of January 5th. Senator Loeffler was appointed to the seat following Senator Isaacson's announcement that he would retire. The senator then faced in-party competition from fellow Republican Congressman Doug Collins, who conceded early last night. The 2 months leading up to the January runoff will give her more time to focus on her message and her opponent.
Look, I'm a strong conservative champion for Georgia. That's what's made Georgia the #1 state in the country to do business, is our strong conservative leadership. And I'm going to continue to uphold those values for the state to make sure that we have the economic opportunity that lifts everyone up, regardless of their political party.
So Reverend Raphael Warnock has been the leading Democrat in the race, and he has the most votes overall in the general election. We spoke with Reverend Warnock earlier today, hours after he learned that he was moving forward.
We've been getting our message out, focused on making sure that every Georgian has access to affordable health care. That's critical in that essential workers get paid an essential wage, and that all families have a chance. We're concerned about working families, especially in a time like this, and I think Georgians heard our message and they responded, and I'm deeply grateful.
So the winner will be up for re-election again in 2 years, and good news for everyone in Georgia. Get ready for a lot of television advertisements. We enjoyed that, didn't we?
Too soon. I think everyone's yelling at you. Too soon.
I loathed seeing myself in those spots. Can I just tell you, I am glad that that has stopped, at least for now. Both of Georgia's Senate races are being closely watched by the nation as Republicans fight to keep control of the Senate. I want to mention again that as you see me in those spots, that have been played in the World Series and Falcons games. We have no control over that. I have no ability to stop that.
Right.
11 Alive can't stop it. And let me tell you, we would love to be able to say, knock it off and get me off those, but that's not how it works. All right, we bring in Brendan Keefe right now from the newsroom for a look at the balance of power as it stands right now.
Yeah, well, here's the balance of power in the Senate. It looks like the Republicans are going to maintain control of the Senate. Really, the linchpin turned out to be Susan Collins in Maine. She will be reelected. That was a hopeful pickup for the Democrats. It's not going to happen. It almost makes the Georgia Senate races irrelevant in terms of the balance of power, although we are, of course, keeping an eye on the Senate race here simply because of this number right here. You know, Senator Perdue, if that's 50%, not +1 or below 50%, it's an automatic runoff. That's Georgia law. So that's going to be interesting to watch. On the Georgia presidential race, though, we're watching the numbers change really minute by minute. Right now on the board, it's showing a 66,000 vote, a little bit 66,400 vote lead for Donald Trump, which has been dropping really in the last hour as more votes have been coming in. These votes aren't just showing up. These are votes that were already cast, that were absentee ballots in most cases, and they're just now being processed and opened and counted. So it's not like these, you know, people are saying, where are these votes coming from? The votes were brought in and now being counted. I think that's an important point. Where are we seeing some movement? I say the number's dropping again. We haven't seen an update in that number yet, but we did see here in Chatham County, essentially, we just got, how many votes? We just got 10,000 votes just dropped from Chatham County, newly counted. And of those right there, 7,300 went for Joe Biden. 371 went for Joe Biden. 1,936 went for Donald Trump. So Chatham County already blue. Those votes that are being newly counted in here are actually tilting the race again toward Joe Biden, much closer to that 60,000 vote difference between the two of them. And again, this has been going down minute by minute. We still think there's 120,000, 130,000 or more votes still left to be counted.
It's fascinating to see things come in. I'm glad you reiterated that, Brendan, about these are votes that were cast. They've just not magically appeared. They're just being counted as the Secretary of State anticipated. Still ahead, Georgia in the national spotlight. We keep saying it. It is true. A race too close to call, and that in itself in this state is significant. We're breaking things down. More for you coming up next.
We continue to wait for thousands of absentee and provisional ballots to be counted here in Georgia, and those could determine Georgia's 16 electoral votes one way or another. Brendan Keefe is back with us. Brendan, for a long time, you were standing by that map. There wasn't a lot going on, but now the votes are beginning to trickle in like a steady river in its flow.
Yeah, and I want to let me guide you through how this is working. What's happening is individual counties, like for example, Chatham County just reported another 10,000 votes had been counted. That gets added to the tally. It was leaning based on, this division here, more towards Biden. But then when you go back to the map, you don't see the number change. It's taking about 10 minutes or so for those county reports to then get added into the Secretary of State's numbers, and then it's populated here on the board. As of right now, Donald Trump has a 66,000 point lead, but that may shrink to 60,000 once just those Chatham numbers come in. We also saw some numbers down in Albany, in Dougherty County, some numbers come in again, more heavily favored toward Joe Biden because these are bluer counties. But we're also waiting for about 7,000 votes to come in from Forsyth County, and it really matters what part of the county they come in from, because the south half of Forsyth is the part of Forsyth County that has changed dramatically over the last really 20 years, where the northern Forsyth County tends to vote more like Dawson, where we see 83% going for Trump. I also want to zoom back out to the big map here because Jennifer Rigby, our news director, had a great idea. Let's go and look at the numbers. This is from Politico, the map here. These are the numbers from the Brian Kemp, Stacey Abrams race just 2 years ago. And they're really educational because, look, the figures are very similar. We've got almost 4 million votes here, and they broke 50.2 to 48.8. I mean, there were 55,000 votes separating the candidates. And when you tap the map and actually color it like our map, where there's shades, and you can sort of see the light blues and the dark blues and the light reds and the dark reds and the oranges here, you can see where Atlanta has become more and more blue, and then you've got that belt of voters and then heading down to Chatham County with Savannah. So again, back to the main map, you can see it looks a lot like this election. In fact, it almost looks like a rerun of that election. And remember, that almost led to a runoff and certainly a demand for a recount. Right now, we're getting to some really close numbers. We're going to keep following them because we're getting numbers in literally by the minute here. And the Secretary of State says they want to have this wrapped up by tonight. It's a really good question whether that's going to happen or not, because we estimate at least 125,000 outstanding votes.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the parallels, very interesting there, Brendan, as that gubernatorial race was 55,000 votes, and now we are closer to 60,000 votes separating right now President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. And stay tuned, more to come, right, Brendan? Thanks for watching the map for us. So as these results keep coming in, votes still being counted, they are coming in slowly, but they are making changes in the margins as we keep reiterating. We want to go back to Fulton County, to the election warehouse, where we find Andy Parati. Andy, is it just slow and steady there at this point?
Very slow and steady. We started this morning with about 67,000 or so ballots that have not been scanned, those absentee mail-in ballots that have yet to be processed. So we started this morning around 67,000. Based on hearing my colleague Doug Richards over at State Farm Arena, that number is slowly dwindling. But we've also, since this morning, I've learned about other ballots that have yet to be counted. And take a look behind me. You have some individuals looking at some ballots that were flagged earlier. And we're hearing a number close to anywhere between a few hundred to a few thousand. Those individuals that you're looking at, they're paired up with one Democrat and one Republican, and they're looking at ballots that have been flagged by the computer system that something went wrong. We don't know exactly what went wrong during the scanning process, but they're going to look at the intent of what that voter was trying to accomplish, and then they'll together either agree or disagree on how that ballot will be counted. And we're told once that's all done, several thousand votes will eventually be uploaded into the system, into the Secretary of State's office. So we could be seeing not just those 67,000 absentee mail-in ballots that will eventually be put into this system, but several other thousand ballots that were flagged. Another type of vote that we're checking in and following very closely are provisional ballots. Earlier today, the election chief from Fulton County told the commissioners this morning that 1,200 to 3,000 provisional ballots will have to be reviewed and also looked. So this is such a razor-thin election in Georgia. So it could come down to the flag ballots. It could come down to the provisional ballots. So that's why they're doing everything they can just to make sure that the process is being followed. Earlier this morning, the Secretary of State's office, he praised his staff for how well the election went. He said that the public should have anticipated that not all of the results were going to come in. They anticipated it. Here's him talking earlier this morning about the confidence in the election.
Going much quicker, and that's why we're really pleased with the state election board allowing us to scan that. If you look at some of these states, this morning is when they actually opened up their absentee ballot, boxes, and that's when they started actually the process of separating out the absentee ballots. That's a very extensive process, verifying the signature and going through there, separating it out.
So the Secretary of State there voicing his confidence in the election yesterday. I can tell you that while he believes that most of the votes will be counted today, yesterday Fulton County's election chief said that it could take them up until Friday to count all of the mail-in absentee ballots that are currently still being processed 3 miles away at State Farm Arena. Guys, back to you.
So we're sort of bouncing around Metro Atlanta right now. We go from Fulton County, where we have been focusing now. We want to journey out to Gwinnett County. That's where Palacero is right now. And we've learned that some workers have wrapped up early. It's 5:37 right now. They're going home. What's it look like right now, Pala, where you are behind you?
Yep. So, well, today the focus was on provisional ballots. So the group that was here today, they were focusing on provisional ballots. They were supposed to go home around 7 o'clock, but they got done earlier. So as you can see behind me, there are just a few people still working on those. But for the most part, the majority of employees here, volunteers, they have left home. As for the focus, tomorrow, that will be the adjudication process for the absentee mail-in ballots that were affected by a software glitch. Now, officials are not sure just how many absentee mail-in ballots were affected by the software glitch. A big reason why is because really of the way ballots are processed. They are scanned by batches, which could be 25 ballots or 50, depending on whether a voter fills out both ballot pages or just one. So I just got word that this could take another 2 to 3 days. So here in Gwinnett County, we could be waiting for results through Saturday. Now, we know the software used is new. Usually, if there's an issue with how the ballot was filled out, if a bubble wasn't fully filled, for example, the software selects that ballot to be adjudicated. So that process involves a 3-person committee. It includes a representative from each party and an election official. So if the system flags a batch, they will need to be looked at by this 3-person committee. Although a spokesperson tells us they're not sure the exact number of ballots impacted, we know going into election night, the county had 118,000 absentee mail-in ballots. The first half of those scanned with no issue. When the second group, which could contain about 60,000 ballots, was scanned, that's when the glitch happened. But the county does not expect to have to review all 60,000. Now, the adjudication process does begin Thursday, so tomorrow at 9 a.m. But in addition to dealing with this software glitch, 4,400 absentee ballots were received here yesterday, so they also have that to deal with and to have those processed. But for now, we'll send it back to you guys.
The complicated minutia of trying to connect all the dots and count all of the votes. Thank you, Pala. It's a tight race for president in Georgia as we remain one of the final states not yet called for President Trump or Joe Biden. Joining me right now is our political analyst, Emory Political Science, Dr. Andra Gillespie. Last time we talked to Dr. Gillespie around 1 a.m., the world looked very different. So give me your view about how things have turned out over the course of the hours. Are you surprised to see that many of these states now would appear to be going toward Joe Biden?
No, actually, the exit polls were pointing in that direction. And I think it just goes to show you that you shouldn't jump to conclusions, especially in an election where there's a pandemic and there are lots of votes that need to be counted by mail and aren't going to be counted on the machines. So I expected that there was going to be some tightening overnight. And sure enough, that's what we saw as the absentee ballots started to come in, which were going to break Democratic, as the larger cities around the country started to count more and more of their votes, those margins started to tighten. And in some states, they actually turned in Joe Biden's favor.
Where do you think we go from here as far as President Trump and the Republicans battling this in court? Is that chasing something that is possible, or does it become a very difficult set of circumstances for them legally?
Well, the Trump campaign is going to have to bring legitimate claims with evidence. to courts in order to be able to seek redress. And if the judges to whom they present this information don't feel that there's enough evidence, then they're likely to not hear the case. And even if it gets appealed to a higher court, they still have to use the same evidentiary rules. So we have to wait to see how serious the charges are and whether it's conjecture and speculation or whether they actually can prove that there is real harm or action done.
Enough votes out there for Jon Ossoff to get into the next stage?
I would have to go back and count a little bit more carefully in order to know. One of the things that was troubling me earlier today, about the Ossoff race, at least from his perspective, was the fact that he was underperforming Joe Biden. And so that wasn't necessarily the most positive sign. So we'll just have to wait to see. If President Trump ends up winning Georgia, Senator Perdue's numbers were actually tracking President Trump's very well. And so especially if President Trump wins by an outright majority, that probably ends up boding well for Senator Perdue. But again, it's close, and so we have to wait to see.
Dr. Gillespie, thank you. Remember, you can check the very latest results as the final votes come in on 11alive.com/election.
Georgia will be sending 4 new U.S. representatives to Congress. What we don't know yet is if Democrats will pick up another seat. We're going to explain coming up. The expectation heading into this election is that it could take some time for the results, and that is certainly how it's playing out. Tonight, Georgia is not the only state still counting ballots. There are still a handful where the race has not been called yet as well. Alice Barr joins us live from the White House with much more. Alice?
Yeah, Cheryl, you have it exactly right there. This is a much tighter race than expected, but in many ways it is playing out pretty much as it was predicted, and elections officials are just asking for patience while they ensure that every vote is counted.
With election results still hanging in the balance, NBC News this afternoon projecting Joe Biden as the apparent winner of Wisconsin, boosting his margin over President Trump. The results in that key battleground so razor thin, they may depend on a recount and confirmation. Votes still being tallied in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada. State election officials feeling the heat to get it right.
Even once a ballot comes in, as you all know, it has to be validated. The signature on the envelope has to be checked.
As expected, yesterday's in-person voting leaned toward President Trump, while the mail-in ballots still being counted have been trending for Biden. The Democratic candidate today projecting confidence and urging patience.
It's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people.
Early this morning, President Trump continued his months-long unfounded attacks on the election's integrity and claimed victory based on incomplete results.
We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Today on Twitter, the president falsely claiming, quote, they are finding votes for Biden all over the place. In fact, elections officials are counting votes that were mailed in before the deadline, standard procedure in any election. But then again, this is an election unlike any other. The nation sharply divided and anxiously awaiting word of a winner.
Several of President Trump's Republican allies, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, are dismissing the president's claims of victory and saying the ballot counting should continue. Cheryl, back to you.
All right, Alice Barr, live at the White House. Thank you so much. A lot of people just glued to the phones today, right? Refresh, 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 constantly checking to see if a winner has been declared in any of the states in this presidential race. If it's making you feel anxious, well, you are certainly not alone. Perhaps our anxiety is what unites a divided country today. Latasha Givens is live on the 17th Street offering some tips about how to ease. I think everyone's nerves are a little bit frazzled here, Latasha.
That's right, Cheryl, and you can see that anxiety when you look on social media. But I talked to a therapist who says for the first time she's actually had to counsel people on the level of stress this election cycle has brought them. But the good news is there are some things you can do right now to start moving forward.
This entire election cycle is not so much about casting a ballot, right?
Therapist Leah Chapman Mills says there's a level of fear on all sides that their voices may not be heard or their beliefs respected.
And the anticipation is really a mask, right? Underneath all of that is just fear.
This is the real life rendition of Waiting to Exhale. The whole nation is collectively looking to see in great anticipation, will their votes matter?
Mills Chapman says if you were up all night watching the election results come in, if you've been fighting on Facebook or just pacing back and forth in your home, it's all normal.
People, again, are functioning from an emotional part of their brain instead of looking at it from their thinking brain or the cognitive brain. Their trauma brain is activated, which means that their fight or flight responses are kicking in.
She says even some physical pain is normal too.
Many may also have what we call somatic symptoms or symptoms that's within the body. They may find that they are having headaches. They may find that they may actually have physical aches within their body.
But Chapman Mills says there are 5 things you can do today to start feeling better. First, limit your media engagement. Watch and read things at specific times, not for hours at a time. Second, do something today that you enjoy. Even if you don't think it will be fun, just do it. 3, give yourself grace for how you feel. It's probably normal. 4, get out of the house even if it's for a short time. Sunlight and fresh air can have a positive effect on your physical well-being. And 5, enjoy the people you have in your life. Allow them to have a greater impact over you than strangers.
Feelings, they don't last forever, which means that moments don't last forever. This election is not, or the cycle of this election will not last forever.
And Dan Chapman says, just remember, people before politics, and just be kind to one another. Back to you.
All right, deep breath for us all, Latasha. Thanks a lot. We'll be right back.
Georgia will be sending a few new representatives to the 117th U.S. Congress. Democrat Nikema Williams will be the new 5th District representative after taking the seat of the late Congressman John Lewis, his spot in the 5th Congressional District. The seat will be filled briefly by either Robert Franklin or Kwanzaa Hall, both are Democrats, following a December 1st special election. Nikema Williams will then take over in January. Republicans Andrew Clyde and Marjorie Greene Taylor were both declared winners last night. Clyde in the 9th District, succeeding Congressman Doug Collins, who made a failed bid for the U.S. Senate. And Taylor Greene will fill the 14th District seat vacated by Tom Graves last month, who retired. Another race that we were watching last night, Democratic Congresswoman Lucy McBath, who beat out incumbent Karen Handel to flip the seat in 2018. She won the rematch. Still ahead at 6, Joe Biden coming closer to the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidential race. Right now, Georgia's 16 electoral votes are still up for grabs as ballots still are being counted. Our team coverage continues next. Live from Atlanta, 11 Alive at 6 starts now.
Former Vice President Joe Biden, the projected winner of Wisconsin as of this afternoon, as he grows closer to hitting the 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House. Georgia, still very much up for grabs, the race too close to call and getting closer by the moment. Metro counties are still counting ballots right now.
So here is where Georgia stands. We are going to have a county-by-county breakdown of where these votes are coming in from across the state. Right now, President Trump would have about a 60,000 vote lead right now over Joe Biden.
First, let's go to Rebecca Lindstrom in DeKalb County. Rebecca, DeKalb working hard to meet the Secretary of State's goal of having all the ballots in all 159 counties counted by tonight.
That's right, and here in DeKalb, they started the morning with about 48,000 ballots that still needed to be counted. I just checked. They've been able to get that number down to about 9,000, with only 66,000 votes separating President Trump and Joe Biden. It really could come down to those absentee and provisional ballots. This all sort of gives you the question, though, how did Georgia end up being such a competitive state? And I spent the day talking with two Emory professors about that question. And they say, first, we really do have to look at the demographics. Now, when President Clinton won this state back in 1992, we had about 4 million fewer people. So we've gained in population, and of those 4 million people, half of those are black, a quarter of them Hispanic. And they say also the disapproval of how the president has handled COVID played into this vote.
The shutdowns that we've seen have been destructive to the economy, but at the same time, we're seeing a resurgence in cases, which indicates that we're not out of the woods yet. And I think for many voters, especially many college-educated voters, that dynamic, again, the economy and the COVID-19 pandemic, are really key and have really shaped their vote choice.
DeKalb says they are working to try to meet that goal of having all of these votes counted tonight, but they will not be rushed. They're going to make sure that these votes are counted correctly. Back to you.
Rebecca, thank you. Associated Press and NBC both have been calling Michigan now in the camp of Joe Biden. So that has been out for about the last 30 to 35 minutes or so. We've been receiving new numbers from several counties around the state over the last hour. Brendan Keefe is here with the very latest breakdown. County by county, ever changing, ever interesting, and ever full of votes that are finding their way finally to be tallied.
Well, when I first started tracking this afternoon, Jeff, we were looking at some, 78,000 votes separating the two. That was late this afternoon, separating the two here in Georgia, the two candidates. When you see 50-49, it doesn't tell the whole story. When you actually do the math now, Trump's lead is below 60,000. It's actually at 59,800 over Joe Biden. And when you're asking, okay, is that enough to overcome, are there enough votes still out there? Just in the metro, we have about 100,000 votes still outstanding just in this blue and deep blue section. So yes, is it possible it's going to get closer? And of course, if Georgia was to flip, that really could more than likely determine the whole presidential race, make things very interesting. We're also getting new information just now in DeKalb, where Rebecca Lindstrom was just a moment ago, indicating some 9,000 votes outstanding. We just got, let's see, we got 1,000 votes in, and 908 of those went to Biden, where 189 went to Trump. And there's one more county that's reporting, and it's Houston County, which, as you can see, is kind of pink. It obviously leans Trump, but that kind of split out of, let's see, out of 10,000 votes, 4,000 went to Trump, almost 6,000 went to Biden. So it actually broke a little Biden's way, as you can see, surrounded by blue here. So we'll keep an eye on the numbers, because this is still a very competitive race, and it's not over.
And we'll keep you updated on results in every race as the final votes are counted here in our state. To get them sent right to your phone, easy to do, text the word RESULT to the number on your screen. That number is 404-885-7600. Dozens of counties in Georgia are still counting absentee ballots sent in by mail or by dropped off in drop boxes. Georgia hopes to finalize the tally tonight, but other swing states like North Carolina and Pennsylvania say they could be counting until Friday. Caitlin Ross is digging into what Georgia did to prepare for this influx of absentee ballots.
Here in Georgia, 1.6 million voters requested absentee ballots for this election, and they had until 7 p.m. yesterday to get those ballots to an election office. We heard from one voter, though, who postmarked his ballot on October 23rd, but when he checked the status today, saw it was not received in time to be counted. So where does that leave him? His vote might be among the 200,000 ballots still waiting to be processed. Or, despite leaving 10 days for it to get from Tennessee to Fulton County in the mail, it didn't make it in time. The U.S. Postal Service told 11 Alive today their average delivery time since October 1st was 2.5 days, and they did see a huge surge in the amount of mail they received over the past few weeks. After those ballots arrived at the local election offices, they could be sorted and scanned, but not counted until Election Day.
You can't count them before Election Day, and all of the counties aren't even on the same page about that. So I think going forward, if there's an expectation that there are going to be a lot of absentee ballots, we need to have a rule in place where those things are processed way before Election Day. Because if you want to know the results by the end of the day on Election Day, you can't wait until Election Day to start processing those ballots.
Pate says he expected the 2 lawsuits filed by President Trump's campaign in Michigan and Wisconsin already, and he expects we'll see more legal action about these absentee ballots by the end of the week.
All right, Caitlin, thank you. Tonight, the Fulton County Republican Party is voicing concerns. Unsupervised counting at State Farm Arena happened last night. Andy Parati is live in Fulton County with more on this. Andy?
Hi, Shira. I spoke with Trey Kelly earlier, and he said that the county is very concerned about claims that for about 2 hours last night, election workers were scanning ballots, counting them with no supervision. Now, it's also unclear whether they're even required to be supervised because they're not counting, they're actually scanning the ballots later to be counted. Another concern that both parties are having, Republican and Democrats, are those provisional ballots. Earlier today, the election chief for Fulton County was telling the commissioners that 1,200 to 3,000 votes are considered provisional, so those are going to have to go through a process to get authorized and counted. And another thing that is happening right behind us is that there's a number of voters that are going through an adjudication process of ballots that have been flagged by the county's computer system as they were scanned. What's happening is that a member from the Democratic Party and Republican Party are going and reviewing each ballot together, deciding on how they think that voter intended to vote. We're going to be here all night checking on the progress. We know Fulton County still has thousands of mail-in ballots that have yet to be counted, and we will be here counting them alongside them. Back to you.
Not that far from Andy Parati is Doug Richards, who is standing by at the State Farm Arena where they are working feverishly to get through the absentee ballots. Doug, it's all yours. How about an update?
Yes, we are at the State Farm Arena in the room where the work shut down yesterday because a water pipe burst in the room up above us and leaked through the ceiling. The workers behind me have been working on absentee ballots, and the stacks of unprocessed absentee ballots is getting smaller. There were 67,000 of them or so at the start of the day today. We're told they'll be done tonight with no promises, of course, on the time. The 36 folks here are examining envelopes, checking the identifying information, opening the outer envelope, opening the anonymous inner envelope, which contains the ballot. They are not counting the ballots here. They're sending them on to a facility about 3.5 miles from here. And that's where the scanners will actually count the votes in the hope that all of that gets done sometime this evening. Back to you.
Been there all afternoon long. Anything surprise you? Clearly nothing has surprised Doug. Thank you. For the latest updates on the election, head to 11alive.com. We have the latest on ballot counts and on results to see if you can spot some surprises. You can also download the 11 Alive app for alerts.
Only surprised and disappointed that he couldn't hear you. He wants to hear you. A shift in Cobb and Gwinnett counties after Republican incumbents did not win. How the political landscape there continues to shift bluer. Next. A few votes are still being processed in Cobb County. Joe Hankey is in Cobb right now. Joe, the county is still going. Big races have been decided, and the results show us some trends there in Cobb County for certain.
They do show us some trends here in Cobb County. We're also seeing similar trends over in Gwinnett County. We'll get to that in just a second. The elections officer, Cobb County, is behind me, though, and throughout the day, a Cobb County spokesman has been telling us election workers are processing and counting 15 to 16,000 final absentee ballots. We just received an update from the county. They expect to send results for many of those ballots. They'll upload it to the Secretary of State's office around 7:30 this evening, so we should start to see some more results out of Cobb County here, and any impact that might have on the presidential election. Here in Cobb County, though, as you mentioned, key races already decided so far here in the county, especially showing a trend of Republican incumbents being ousted by Democrats around the county in key positions. One of them is the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. Neil Warren has been with the Sheriff's Office since 1977. He was the longtime county sheriff, but he was defeated last night by Democrat and Army veteran Craig Owens. Owens had received endorsements from both Democrats and Republicans, and he'll be Cobb's first black sheriff. Cobb's next district attorney will be a former assistant solicitor general and Democrat who defeated Joyette Holmes. Holmes was in the position only for a little over a year. She was appointed last year by Governor Brian Kemp after then DA Vic Reynolds left to be the director of the GBI. Holmes was leading the prosecution in the Ahmaud Arbery murder case out of Glynn County. The new incoming DA will take over that prosecution. And the top seat in the county, the county commission chairwoman, will be Democrat Lisa Cupid. She ousted incumbent Republican Mike Boyce, making her the first African-American elected county commission chair. Cupid talked with us today about her victory.
Hoping that other people will be inspired. If it's history making, it's just history making for anyone that believes that they can get through a challenge and overcome and get to something better.
And over in Gwinnett County, Danny Porter, a Republican, had been district attorney since 1992. He talked with us earlier this year about possibly running in this election as a Democrat because of changing trends there. He ran as a Republican, though, and he was beat by Patsy Austin Gatson, a black Democrat. She will now take over as Gwinnett's DA. Butch Conway, the Republican sheriff in Gwinnett, earlier this year, he announced he was retiring after 20-plus years as sheriff and many more in law enforcement in the county there. Stepping in, though, will be a new sheriff, former Gwinnett police officer Kibo Taylor. He won against a Republican challenger. Taylor over in Gwinnett County will be Gwinnett's first black sheriff over there. And also Charlotte Nash, she had been the chairwoman for Gwinnett County. She had been with the commission over there since 2011. She is now being replaced by a Democrat as well. Cheryl?
All right. Thanks a lot, Joe.
A software glitch appears to be impacting the absentee ballot count in Gwinnett County. That's where we find Palacero right now. And what's the problem? How are they getting these ballots counted now?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just got word that we might not know any numbers here in Gwinnett County through Sunday because, well, today the focus was on provisional ballots, but tomorrow will be all about, as you said, those absentee mail-in ballots that were affected by a software glitch. So those ballots will go through adjudication, which involves a 3-person committee. It includes a representative from each party and an election official. But a spokesperson here in Gwinnett tells me that process could take 2 to 3 days unless they get a, quote, pleasant surprise. The adjudication process begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow, but officials are still not sure how many absentee mail-in ballots were affected by the glitch. You guys see some people here still working on some provisional ballots, but they were expected to leave at 7 o'clock today. They actually got done earlier, but of course we'll keep you updated on those numbers. But again, as of right now, we might not know any numbers because of that adjudication process till Sunday of this week. Send it back to you guys.
Adjudication and Sunday. That is a long time away. All right. For the very latest updates on the election, you can head to 11alive.com. We have the latest on ballot counts and on results. You can also download the 11 Alive app for alerts. Chris?
Well, we had a beautiful day outside. It was an 11 on the wasometer with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures just shy of 70. We got up to 69 for a high, and now cooling down since the sun has gone down. We're 65 here in town. Some 50s, though, outside the city. Athens, you're already in the 50s at 57, 58 in Carrollton, 55 in Peachtree City. And take a look at this. Yeah, the sun went down around 5:42 tonight. We still have some light there on the horizon. It is a beautiful landscape out there with that clear sky, and cooling down again tonight. Temperatures generally moving down into those mid-40s here early in the morning with clear skies. It's going to be another great day. Changes, though, are on the way. You know, it's been so dry out there with the low dew points and low relative humidity. Well, watch what happens as those dew points start rising. That means a little more moisture moving back in, and then eventually, with that extra moisture in the atmosphere, we're going to see our rain chances coming up, but not tomorrow. Another 11 on the wasometer. Just a couple of additional clouds mixing in with the sunshine, starting off at 46 in the morning, getting up to near 70 once again. And folks, I have to tell you, we have to keep an eye on Eta, even though it has moved inland. It's a tropical storm right now near the Honduras area, but it's not over yet. It's going to take a turn, move back out over the water here in the Caribbean, become a tropical depression, and then a tropical storm, and then curve again south of Florida and most likely getting into the Gulf of Mexico. It is too early to tell whether or not this system is going to have any impact on us, but it's something, of course, we're going to be watching for you. The models really aren't in agreement as to what's going to happen once it gets in the Gulf. You see how everything just kind of starts turning all around here. So right now we think it will stay south of us here in Georgia, but we'll see if it's going to spread any moisture into our area. But that wouldn't be until later on next week. So nice, beautiful weather through the weekend. We've even taken out the low rain chances that we originally had in for Friday and Saturday. Now just calling for partly cloudy skies, high temperatures in the lower 70s, 73 Sunday, and then low rain chances on Monday at 20%, 30% chance Tuesday, 40% chance on Wednesday. And of course, we'll watch the track of Eta to see if that spreads any more moisture our way for next week.
A few Senate races remain uncalled, including a big one here in Georgia. Up next, a look at the current balance of power. Georgia was in a unique position this election with both U.S. Senate seats on the ballot. One will go to a runoff, and we'll have more on that in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the very latest in the Perdue-Ossoff race. Senator David Perdue is looking for a second term against the Democrat Jon Ossoff. Senator Perdue needs to stay above that 50% plus one vote threshold to avoid a runoff. Following a contentious so-called jungle primary, we are closer to figuring out who will finish former Senator Isaacson's term. A field of 20 candidates has been whittled down to Republican incumbent Senator Kelly Loeffler and Democratic challenger, the Reverend Raphael Warnock from Ebenezer Baptist, who will face off in a runoff the first week in January 5th. The winner will be up for re-election again in 2 years. Senator Loeffler was appointed to the seat following Senator Isaacson's announcement that he would retire last December. The senator then faced in-party competition from fellow Republican Congressman Doug Collins, who conceded early last night. The 2 months leading up to the January runoff will give her more time to focus on her message and her Democratic opponent.
Look, I'm a strong conservative champion for Georgia. That's what's made Georgia the #1 state in the country to do business, is our strong conservative leadership. And I'm going to continue to uphold those values for the state to make sure that we have the economic opportunity that lifts everyone up, regardless of their political party.
Reverend Raphael Warnock has been the leading Democrat in the race, and he has the most votes overall in the general election. We spoke with Reverend Warnock earlier today, hours after he learned that he was moving forward.
We've been getting our message out, focused on making sure that every Georgian has access to affordable health care. That's critical, and that essential workers get paid an essential wage, and that all families have a chance. We're concerned about working families, especially in a time like this, and I think Georgians heard our message and they responded, and I'm deeply grateful.
And we are seeing an 11th hour surge from former Vice President Joe Biden. The Associated Press has called Michigan for Mr. Biden, putting him closer to victory. We don't expect results from Nevada, where he is leading. We will not hear on those allegedly until tomorrow. We want to bring in Brendan Keefe now from the newsroom with the very latest on the maps and how Georgia could fit into the final tally. It is ever changing.
It's amazing, Jeff. Right now, 55,000 votes separate the two candidates in Georgia. That number keeps shrinking. We actually expect numbers from Cobb County, some 15,000 absentee ballots. That count should come in by 7:30. Let's jump over to the electoral map for a second. Just a disclaimer, this is the AP map. This isn't NBC calling this. The Associated Press, as you mentioned, has called Michigan. So let's what if this for a minute. Obviously, if you add Georgia to the current states already called, that brings Biden above 270. 270 is what's needed to win the White House based on what's called so far. Let's take Georgia away for a minute because that is still, it's going to take some time to get there. So let's give him Nevada, where they're counting right now. That takes Joe Biden to 270. He only needs one of these remaining states based on what the Associated Press has called so far. That's Nevada, which is purple, Georgia purple, North Carolina. That's going to take a while into next week. Same thing with Pennsylvania. That's going to take at least till the end of the week. But there are 1 million votes left to be counted there. This race is far from over.
We will keep you updated on results in every race as the final votes are counted in Georgia. Remember, we can send that to your phone. Just text the word result to the number on your screen, and the number is 404-885-7600. We'll take a break. We return after this.
Georgia remains a jump ball in the race for the 16 electoral votes. Donald Trump leading Vice President Joe Biden by 55,000 votes.
And in the U.S. Senate right now, David Perdue, you see his numbers against Jon Ossoff. Those have been holding steady for the most part.
As we have mentioned, votes are still being counted and more results coming in. So things are changing by the moment. So you can always find more anytime on 11alive.com. NBC Nightly News' election coverage is up next with continuous coverage throughout the night here for you on 11 Alive.